Yak Gadget, made in America, based outside of Nashville, Tennessee. Yak Gadget offers all kinds of storage accessories, quick mount motor mounts, anchor systems, track mounted accessories, even paddles. Go to yakgadget.com and get your kayak decked out for your next trip out on the water.
The 153 Bait Company, based in Troy, Ohio, make everything from plastics to custom painted hard baits. Hook 'em hard and hook 'em often. All of our baits are made to order, and all of our hard baits are hand painted to order. So go to the153anglers.com to place your order today.
To hell and back is in the job description. Being roughed up, scuffed up, run over, kicked, thrown, dropped, dunked, and done the unthinkable is a duty we've embraced for more than 40 years. Through superior engineering and constant innovation, only Pelican has conquered the chaos a life of ambition can dish out. And we've done it to empower you.
Welcome to The Reel Down on Paddle and Fin with your hosts, Dan Perry and Jimmy Skinner, where we talk about everything tournament kayak fishing. Here we go. Hey everybody, welcome back to The Reel Down on Paddle and Fin, another Monday Night Live.
What's up?
What's going on, Jimmy? How you doing, man?
Man, I'm beat. I just don't feel like I'm catching up, man. Fished the tournament this weekend, went right back to work, woke up this morning, and everything in my yard was covered in pollen, so I feel like crap, too.
Oh, I understand that. Like we have here in central Alabama, I guess everywhere in Alabama, it's like a thin layer of yellow-green on everything.
Ugh, it's terrible.
That is so
I saw the first hint of it last night and this morning, and it was just like, wow.
Yeah.
But yeah, other than that, what about you, man? You missed out on a tournament that you didn't really miss out on.
Yeah. Saturday, North Alabama Kayak Anglers. Well, you signed up. Yeah, you fished it too. I'm sorry. But we both signed up for their tournament, and Jimmy, you did well. You did all right, and I just slept through it. I slept straight through it.
I was doing all right, man. I was paying attention to Attorney X there towards the end of the day, and I mean, I had a terrible limit, but I was like, man, my terrible limit's got me in 12th place, so it's a tough day. And then like me and Nate Mayfield and Dan Sasser were headed to Buffalo Wild Wings because the wind got so bad, and we're gonna go ahead and score fish and everything. And like last second, I looked at Attorney X before we cut it off, and old Randall Wallace threw up 62 inches, and I was like, well, here's the doors, they're wide open. And then everybody started uploading just, 57, 58, 3-fish tournament. But congrats to them, man. They did really good.
Yep.
Excuse me.
But, and we got a new shelter dog not too long ago, and like a week ago, and we're still learning to live with her, and she kept us up literally all night. So we're still trying to figure that out, and 4 o'clock rolled around because it was a bunch of small lakes for our tournament. So you really had to get there early to even get a parking spot to even get on one of these little lakes. And if you didn't get there, you weren't getting on that body of water. And I chose the wrong body of water anyway, so it all worked out.
Oh, me too. I did find out how lazy electric motors have made me. NACA doesn't allow electric motor, so I put the pedals back on that I technically don't own anymore because I sold them to a buddy of mine. He just hadn't picked them up yet. But threw the pedals back on the F12, and we put in about 6 miles, and I was dying. So I think I'm going to go back to pedaling and kind of back off the electric motor a little bit, because I definitely feel like I'm getting out of shape running that motor all the time.
I pedal all the time. I'm still not in shape. It is not the most. It must be more anaerobic than aerobic, because I never. I'm not getting in shape doing that. I
kept like on the run back. I kept to like make it fun. I kept like challenging myself in my head, like, all right, like dead sprint on the pedals for 60 seconds and stuff like that. But it's also because we had like a 20-mile-an-hour headwind, and I was like, if I stop pedaling, I may not make it back. But It's all good.
That's right.
Talking tournaments before we get into these guys, I want to do a little house cleaning for the old P&F.
All right.
Just to remind everybody, April 9th and 10th, we got the open event on Del Hollow. Y'all come. There's Dan hiding out over there. $100 entry fee, 2-day event. They're giving away, I think, 2 boats in that one, 100% plus payout, lodging and camping, and all sorts of good deals and entertainment going down. Make sure you contact eSport. Come down, hang out with us. And then on the 11th, that's on Sunday, we'll have the Clash of the Clubs. 3-man teams from your basically any grassroots clubs in the country. You can do 3-man teams, as many 3-man teams as you want. And you come on down. It's $75 per angler, which is $225 a team. Come out. There's a boat for that and cash money. So come on out and try to get the bragging rights for your club in whatever part of the country you're in.
There you go. It's going. Seriously, I know I've been posting that for has. I just think it's going to be a great time. Like, you can tournament, all that great stuff, 100% payout, kayaks rigged up, all that great stuff. It's the right time of the year. It's going to be a good time. Good for you. Good food, music, people, cold beer, great, perfect fishing.
Tons of times, but the people, you just can't beat the people at eSport. Shout out to Richard and his whole team of folks down there. They make you feel like you're at home the whole time you're there. What we got tonight?
All right, so while we were sucking, I was sleeping and Jimmy was fishing. These 2 guys were up on in the KBF tournament hammering it. They were catching giant bags. So here we go. Without further ado, we have Eric Polenz, day 2 winner of the KBF tournament on Pickwick, Wilson, and Wheeler, and the day 1 winner, Ken Morris. How y'all doing?
Good. Thanks for having me out.
Yeah, man. Glad y'all could be here.
Doing well. Got back into Cleveland earlier today, took a nap, unpacked the kayak, and immediately took it to the truck to the car wash to get all that red dirt off. So,
that's just a little piece of Alabama you can take back with you.
Yeah, they got rid of it as soon as I could. I got this back here that I brought back, so I'm good with that.
There you go.
I had to get that red mud off there as soon as possible.
All right, so since we've never had
that green pollen, you talked about that green pollen. I had green pollen all over the truck bed too. I was like, I gotta get that out here too. I'm not ready for my allergies to start. I got another month left or something up here. So
yeah.
Well, since we've never had either one of y'all on before, we'll start with you, Ken. Just tell us a little bit about who you are and how you got into kayak fishing.
Obviously, my name is Ken Morris. I am a veterinary technician, so an animal nurse, basically. I started kayak fishing probably 5 years ago or so. Actually, a graduation present for my wife. She bought me a kayak so I could start fishing on the water and not off the bank. And it was like a Dick's special, $500 sit-in sort of thing. And I never really looked back. I found a tournament, entered that. It's the Kayak Anglers, over in Pennsylvania when that grassroots league was a little bit smaller, and just took off from there. So made my way into the river bassin scene and I met Drew and hung out and helped him tear down events. Eventually became the judge for him. He just kept doing more, getting sucked into the scene. And then, I was on Jackson's fishing team for a little while and I stepped away from that. And then, shortly after that, Drew made his transfer to Crescents and I immediately was like, I'm 100% in. What are we doing? Sort of thing. And got into the Crescent kayaks and here we are. So.
There you go.
It's been there's a lot of things that happened in between there, but that's pretty much it.
Yeah, I think everybody is anticipating, the new Crescent kayaks by Drew Gregory. I mean that, I'm sure, and I'm sure we'll talk a little bit about Drew tonight because he got second. Y'all tied. Yeah. They won your boy from your podcast and you tie. So this is your night. You're in the limelight, but I kind of want to know what happened if y'all were sharing water or whatever. But we'll start now. We'll swap over to Eric. How about you, man? Tell us all about yourself.
So I started kayak fishing probably 3 years ago. Before that, me and my brother did some kind of buddy tournament Tuesday nighters and stuff in a boat, and we fished quite a bit. And then it got to the point where I thought, I'd like to have my own way to get on the water too, in case we weren't fishing together. And the kayak thing was just kind of made the most sense to me. I started looking into it. I saw all the opportunities and tournaments, and it kind of blew my mind just how much was available and how many different tournaments and stuff that you could fish. So I got into it. I started doing online stuff and ended up joining up with Mayo, which was the first club that I ever did. And I just never looked back. I really enjoyed it. And then I started getting into the KBF online challenges. And then I started doing some of the live stuff once I came here to Lake St. Clair and up near Ohio. This is the first time I really traveled out of the state, like at a far distance to fish one. And it's been a lot of fun. So I'm hoping to do another one here soon. I bought my first kayak was a Hobie PA12. It's like a 2013. I still have the same one. It's a pedal drive, but it only goes forward. I don't even have the reverse, no motor or anything like that. It's a little bit dated. It's not the best one you could have, but it serves me well. I'm having a heck of a lot of fun using it.
Ken's living in the current and Eric's living with the current. Like wherever it goes. So and this I didn't think about this. Like from Michigan, but North Midwest and Ken Midwest. So that's kind of a coincidence that two Midwest guys came down and whooped everybody.
No, I'm just going to throw it out there that I feel like that Alabama could have had a better showing at this event, but we're so grassroots, and like we talk about it as like a derogatory thing sometimes, but literally like that event was down here and all of our guys all still went to the grassroots event anyway on terrible bodies of water, all in flood stage. It just shows how much our guys like to stick to, like the old school way of doing things. Because I'm sure, not taking anything away from anybody, I'm sure we'd at least seen some of our guys in the top 10, but they just decided not to, which
I really think nothing. I think in the later two tournaments this year, because bass, and that's another thing where I know, are y'all planning on fishing the bass? Are you going to come back and try to kind of defend your title on this river now when Hobie and bass come back later this year?
That's one thing for me is, after taking this that win Saturday, I have to completely redo my schedule now. Like, it's just I have to relook at everything and see what I can try to make, what I can squeeze in, what actually will let me work in, and to make a real run at maybe the KBF trail. That's the AOI stuff, and look at that area down there again for some of the other ones. It all just depends on scheduling and stuff. Like I have a full-time job, and I literally had the least amount of possible time in Alabama this weekend. So I still haven't wrapped my mind around how I pulled that off. But what about you, bud? What do you do? You plan on going back down there or staying down there? You might as well just stay down there.
I was thinking about the same thing. It's the same weekend as the KBF trail goes up to Ohio. That weekend is the same as the Pickwick BASS.
Is it?
So
yeah.
I'm kind of torn. I fished that one the last couple of years and did all right. So I kind of want to do that, but then again, it's kind of hard not to want to come back down here. Although the stuff that I fished this weekend probably won't come into play for that tournament. It'd be completely different than what it was this weekend. But
I'll go ahead and tell you right now, Eric, you told me, we can talk about it when we get into the breakdown. The lake that you chose out of the three is what, and I'm no expert, but I live down here. I live all on Wheeler. That lake is probably the hardest one to really like put anything together on. So
it was the only one that I tried.
That's insane.
There's so many, like you really just have to pick one and just go with it. And with three lakes in play, like you can't really bounce around. You just have to. I think a lot of times, it's hard. I think whenever people are preparing for a tournament, and then it's one river, but you have 3 different bodies of water. Man, how do you break down that much water?
It's a lot of shoreline.
Yeah.
You can spin out real easy. You can
Yeah.
you'll hear Drew talk about that a little bit, or at least I'll make him talk about that. You can spin out real easy looking at all that water.
I think that's kind of the thing. Like, you just have to pick your place and just make it happen. Really, especially if you've never been there before. If you can ramp up and have an extra day, and like Drew said before, put the meat thermometer in the water, and check your temps and do all that and move around and maybe scout some stuff out. Sure, but it's tough whenever there's that much water in play because it's long and narrow.
Yeah.
Rivers, a few creeks and all that, but a lot of that was blown out too. So, yep. All right. So, Eric, we'll start with you. How'd your practice go? Because I'm sure it was tough with all the weather.
Well, I drove down on Thursday night. I'm a school teacher, so for me, it's kind of hard to just take off time whenever I want to. So we got out for spring break on Thursday. I drove down Thursday night, got in around 2:00 in the morning or so, and I fished Friday morning, and I just had in my mind. I looked at all the stuff, and I thought that Wilson was number one, probably not going to get as much pressure as the other two. And then number two, I thought that it was going to be somewhat stable, where I know Pickwick was kind of up and down a little bit from what I was hearing. So I wanted to pick something that I thought was going to be stable and maybe have a better chance of holding up. So I picked kind of a spot on Wilson that I liked, and I broke it down. I fished as much of it as I could. And at one part of the day, the spot that I ended up fishing, I took one cast up into this grass and I caught a 19 and I just left. I figured, well, if there's fish there, there's fish there. I'm for sure going to hit it in the tournament and just kind of see what happens. And that's pretty much what I ended up doing for the majority of the tournament, was fishing that spot. But I caught fish different places in that same kind of little area. And it turned out on Saturday, I jumped out to a lead. I didn't have anything great, but, I was in the 80s early, low 80s. And after about 5 hours, I left my spot, went to a different spot, and I ended up kind of not doing anything the rest of the day. I wasn't even catching little ones, and I kind of regretted it. So I decided at that point to, on Sunday, come hell or high water, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to fish it out just fish it out, grind it, and see what I can get out of it. Sunday morning when I got to the ramp, Adam Reiser was there, and I saw him pulling up on the spot as I was leaving. So I went over and talked to him and just said, hey, I think we're probably both going to the same place. I'm happy to share it with you, but I just wanted to make sure that we're both cool and we can go there.
There you go, folks. Communication is key out on the water.
Oh, for sure. And it was before we even got on the water. And I saw him there. I noticed the kayak, and I didn't want it to be a problem. I figured that he'd be cool, and he still hadn't unloaded his stuff, and I was just about ready to set off the launch. So I just wanted to be like, I didn't want him to pull up and be blindsided that I was going to be fishing it. So if he didn't want to share it, that he could go do what he had to do. But what I found out was I got 16th the first day, and he got 11th. He fished. Most of his fish came off the same stuff that mine did, just later in the day. So in my head, it's like, okay, well, it's reloading. So if I stay there all day, there might be other fish that are pulling up on it. And throughout the day, they did, and some bigger fish showed up. I had no idea that I could win the tournament. We both kind of laughed early in the day. It's like, well, I don't think anybody could win off of this spot, but we might have a decent finish. And just timing, they pulled up when I was there, and they decided to eat. So I got some big fish, but I certainly wasn't expecting that. I caught 3 fish that were bigger than anything that I caught on Saturday or in practice off that same spot that I'd been fishing. They just pulled up, right time, right spot type of thing. So it felt like there was a little bit of luck that went with it, and just the timing, and I'm happy that I grinded it out. It was probably 100 yards less of this, gator grass that was up there, real shallow, 2-3 foot. And I just grinded it out.
Heck yeah.
All right.
It makes me want to go fish Wilson now, dang it.
Weather alert. Hold on.
Oh,
here we go.
That's a stripper alarm. He's about to start dancing.
Watch out. No, here, I'll go over the numbers, but day one had 88 anglers. Ken, you got first with 98 and 3/4, 22-inch big. That was over Drew's 21 and 1/4 because y'all tied with 98 and 3. That's so crazy, man. And third place was Nathan Chengnan. Hope I said that right. Chengnan. I am terrible with names. 95 and 3/4. And then day two, 73 anglers, always a little bit less on Sundays. Eric, you obviously won, 96 and 3/4. Very close by the man himself, Russ Snyder's, 96 and 1/4, and John DeCenzo with 94 and 1/2. So congrats to everybody else, especially Drew. I don't know. I feel bad, but I don't feel bad for the guy because the same thing happened to him on Darnell whenever he tied too and ended up winning in the Hobie, right?
Yeah, he won by tiebreaker on that one.
The big question was, were y'all fishing together?
No, we weren't.
Okay. I didn't know if y'all were kind of like hanging out fishing, like buddying, or.
No, I mean, sometimes, like a lot of times we do because we try to find the weirdest places, the hardest places to fish, and
that's Jimmy too.
The wild stuff that we get into. But this tournament was different. After the whole pre-process and looking at maps and everything, I said, well, I'm going here. This is my best shot. This is the only thing I know. And he said, well, I'm going to go do this and we'll meet up after at the awards or whatever. And, we can get into that story a little bit more later. And I'm sure we're going to go over it on, later in the week when we get together to talk, between us. But,
and I'll say that now, if you're a fan of paddling, Finn, and you aren't subscribed and listening to Hooked on Wild Waters with Ken and Drew, you're missing out on arguably, one of the best podcasts out there. I don't want to cause a ruckus here, but there's a few. There's definitely a few that I listen to, and y'all are one that I listen to every time you put one out.
Awesome.
Yeah, man. Talk about your practice first. Let me ask you, what's your setup with your kayak? Are you doing is it the new one and then the XI with the trolling motor?
CK1.
Yeah, the CK1.
Drew was in the CK1 this weekend. I have the Crew, which is the tandem, but I have it set up as a single, and I have an XI3 on the front, but I put it away this weekend. I didn't use it.
Wow,
nice. Got the old paddle out.
I went straight one person, big boy paddle time in a tandem, and it did everything I needed it to do, to get that work in. So, yeah, Crescent Crew tandem. So it's going to be a great boat for, family fun, taking a dog out, having two people, this or that. But then you can also shape it into an ultimate fishing machine. It like I said, it handles beatings because I drag my kayaks everywhere and take them into crazy places, and it's comfortable for my legs. It can handle my weight. I can stand up in it. I can crawl all the way up to the front to, set the motor down and start using it. And I crawl back and sit down. I'm going to have to get one of the seat risers that they just came out with so I can sit up a little bit more. That's the one thing I haven't enjoyed as much because I always like the high seating position, but they made that seat riser out. So that's going to fix that problem. Easy peasy. And it's got a ton of storage in the back behind me because it's so long and it paddles like a dream. Doesn't, it's a long boat. It's tandem. So the turning isn't as quick as you'd like sometimes, but I mean, I can paddle that thing just as fast as, the light tackle. And then when I got the motor on it, I haven't been able to map it yet, but it has to go at least 6 miles per hour with that motor guide on the front. Like, it's fast.
Jeez. I got a buddy of mine brought the light tackle out this weekend, and it's the first time I've ever been around any of the Crescent boats in the water.
Mm.
And gradually paddling, he was keeping up with me at 3.2. So I'm sure that longer, more streamlined boat probably flies, like you're saying, cuts straight through the water.
Yeah,
Same, probably like a Pursuit,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because I mean, we had it had to have been 25, 30 mile per hour gusts of wind over the weekend when we were fishing, and going straight into it, heading over to a spot. Just it wasn't fun, but I've paddled worse kayaks, that's for sure. Trying to fight through that stuff.
So how was your practice, Ken?
So
And
yeah,
what lake did you fish?
I fished Wheeler.
No picnics.
I guess you could call it practice. I left Thursday night around 6:30, 7 o'clock from Cleveland, and I'm lucky enough that I have family in Kentucky, about halfway through, just south of Lexington. So I made it to my sister's house around midnight or so, grabbed a nap, woke up at like 6 in the morning, and started heading back down. And I started implementing I think Drew calls it the kayak outboard, and that's our trucks. So as soon as I got south of Knoxville, I started driving over creeks and seeing what water levels look like, and then heading further down south into Alabama. And I got in town probably around 10, 11 o'clock in the morning, went to the Airbnb, unloaded my stuff, reset in case I wanted to put my kayak in the water. So I put my stuff away, reset the kayak so it was ready to launch, that sort of stuff. Then started driving again, going over creek. Because like I said, like I know that the Tennessee River is a river, but I like to get it, sectioned down as much as possible into a little creek or something that's a little bit more manageable than a giant lake scenario. And just couldn't find anything, pulled the map back up. I said, I'm going to drive all the way across about an hour away from where I was to check over another spot, this little backwater. And it was the best looking water I'd found all day. So I stopped, I put in, and I actually, I was messing around with my motor guide. I was going to zoom around the place and look at it real quick, and I was having connection issues with my cable, which was my own fault. It had nothing to do with the motor or anything like that. It was just my extension cable. Some stuff came loose, but I couldn't figure it out in the water, so I just unplugged it so it wasn't. And then I started paddling with that heavy motor on the front, and I paddled around the whole time with it on there. So this was the day I had electronics and stuff on as practice, and just checking water temps and depths. So that was like my first hour, because I probably didn't put in until 2 o'clock. So my first hour was paddling around, looking, seeing what the depths are, seeing if they were maybe making beds, if they were moving up, if I could find anything like, any information like that. And then around 3 o'clock, 3:15, I started making some casts, caught a 15, missed a bite, and caught about a 17 or an 18 in 15 minutes. So I just reeled up, put my rods away, paddled back in, and drove back to the Airbnb. So I maybe did a half hour of fishing and an hour of paddling, and that was my practice. And that's when I came back to the Airbnb and, talked to Drew and Jake, the guys that I stayed with. Had a great time. It was a fun weekend for all of us, obviously, because Jake Horn, he grabbed a third place big bass on Sunday. So we all walked away with something. So that was a pretty fun house to be in this weekend.
Yeah.
But, you're like, what are you doing? Yeah, this is what my practice. This was good. And I was like, hey, I literally just showed up and I caught 2 fish in a half hour. I got to go there because it's the best place. I guarantee I had the best water clarity on the whole tournament.
I have my ideas of where you were just because I know Wheeler.
Yeah.
Like, there's honest to God, there's not a creek on Wheeler I don't know. So like, I'm trying to pick it apart, and I really want to know. It's not like to snoop a spot or anything. I'm just
Well, maybe we'll talk afterwards. I'll let you know if you're on the right path. How about that?
Because just hearing somebody come down, fish Wheeler instead of Pickwick and win just makes me happy, because so many people talk so bad about Wheeler now. Because, for anybody that knows or keeps up like Bass Nerd, the elites used to come and show out, and then I think it was 7, 8, 10 years ago or something like that, they sprayed the crap out of Wheeler, and Wheeler went downhill. The smallmouth got hard to find. The Decatur flats weren't anything special anymore, but now everything's turning around, and we love it because we're backwater guys. We know where all those fish went, but it's killer to hear that somebody came down here and showed out on that lake.
Yeah, it was awesome, dude. But yeah, so just to kind of finish the story, Drew, you're like, hey, I'm going here and doing this. Is what I think my best shot is. And I was like, well, this is the only shot I have because I just got here and I caught 2 fish. I'm like, hey, it's got to be what's got to be. We'll just go. I'm just going to go fish and have fun. And I was like, I'm not taking the motor because the area that I found, I wasn't going to fish anything else, so it would be easier than having the motor on the front weighing me down. So I took that off, and I was like, the fish finder isn't going to do anything for me. So I took that off and went back to, bare basics, just fun fishing in a kayak and a hard place to get to, and went to town. And I think my first fish was, I don't know what time it turned in, the time submission, but I caught it probably 6:45, and 19.75 came up and ate a spinnerbait as I was pulling it out of the water to make another cast. So I got
I love when they do that.
I got a top water bite. It came up and rolled sideways and slurped it and went down. And I was in disbelief. I was just like, oh crap, I better set the hook on this. And
Oh, look at that.
Yeah, like, what? Okay, bite. All right. So set the hook on that, got it in. I was like, all right, well, this is a good start. I made a decent decision. Maybe I can cash a check. Maybe I can get a limit, like that sort of thing. And, came around, and being from Ohio, like the water temps I got, I was like, this is time. Like, this is good fishing right here. So
Yeah.
I had 2 rods in front of me. I had a spinnerbait and I had a frog. So I started rotating between the two, and within a half hour, I don't remember the timestamp exactly, come around a corner, boom, 17 slams a frog. So I got 2 fish early in the morning. So then I think I turned into 2 early or something like that. So then I start fishing some more, and the farther away I went up the creek or in the backwaters, my cell signal turned down. So at another point, came across with the spinnerbait, bam, 21. Fished some more, came back around to another spot, had a frog, slam, 22. And this is the scariest way that I have ever landed a big fish, and it happened to be my 22-inch fish. So it's on a frog. One hook is in its upper lip, but it's not all the way through. I don't see the point, so it's just stuck in there a little bit, and you're like, how good is this thing hooked? I don't know. So I'm like fighting it back and forth, and I get the rod. I grab the rod up with, I choke up on it a little bit, and I grab my net with my left hand, and I go and take my net out. In my net, I have a Yak Attack leverage net because I have carpal tunnel and I can't hold a regular net strong enough to lift them up into the boat. So I get that cup on there, but my net flipped over and it made it a flat surface, and I couldn't get it to drop down. So I had this precariously 22-inch bass hanging on a frog, and I can't get my net to drop down like it's supposed to. So I'm like stuck between a rock and a hard place. I'm like, what the heck am I supposed to do? Do I set the net down? Do I try to boat flip this thing? Like, what is happening? This is so stupid and stressful right now. So what do? I'm like, screw it. Like, just throw caution into the wind. You ever taken a pizza out of an oven with one of those flat paddles? So that's basically what I did. Is I slid that thing underneath that fish, flat as could be, and just picked it up and just set it down flat in my kayak, and then immediately dropped both things and just put my hands over top of it, just in case so it wouldn't start flopping. Like, just like taking a pizza out of the oven, man. I just popped that thing flat under there, and it was the scariest thing I think I've ever landed a fish, but it worked out. So at that point, I had one more fish to catch to complete my limit, and it was probably only another 10 minutes. I came around the corner and popped the 16 or whatever it was, and I still didn't have cell service, so I only had 2 or 3 fish on the board. So I had my limit at like 8:30, 8:45, 9 o'clock, and I don't think I got them uploaded until like 9:45, 10. So when all that craziness that Chad was doing his update and stuff, like, I had already had the lead, and I had no idea because I didn't look at it. I didn't look at Fishing Chaos at all. I knew I didn't have good cell service, and it would take 20 minutes every time to like turn the fish in, like, because I'd have to wait. It would be like 4%, 15%. It's just because of my cell service. It's, so I was like, I'm just going to, once I get a limit, I'll paddle back to where I have service and turn them all in at once. So that's what I did. And I got back there and I was like, cause my heart was going, I was sweating. And like, I was like, this is the best tournament fishing day I've ever had in my entire life. I was like, this is like, every time I got bit. My
I
rod
mean,
just got
98
hammered.
inches. That's most people never have a 98-inch tournament day. That's amazing.
It's every bite just seems like the fish got bigger and they hit harder. Like every time I was like, that's why I was like, I can't go turn my fish in. I got to keep fishing because I just got to stockpile these images and go through them later.
At the rate you're going, you're going to catch a 10. Let's go.
Yeah, like that like challenges every instinct in my body because I am the least opposite of a sandbagger. Like if I catch a fish, that picture's got to get turned in like now. Yeah. And I just couldn't do it because I didn't have cell reception and the bite was just my lake was on my water was on fire. Like, so I was like, I can't stop fishing. I got to take pictures of these, make sure they're good, put them away, reset, and start fishing again. I was like, I can't lose this momentum. I can't lose this bite. So finally, I paddle over and turn all that stuff in, and I skyrocket to the top. I'm up on second place by like 12 inches or something like that at that point, if I remember correctly. And I was like, dang. I was at 96 inches at that point, and I was like, this could happen today. Like it's the first time that's ever like kind of dinged in your head. And I made a comment on one of my Facebook posts. Somebody was like that, the write-up says that, Drew was hunting me down. I think everyone was hunting me down. I was looking at it, I was like, I can get rid of this 16. I had like 96 inches with a 16 on my board. I was like, I got to get rid of that thing. I was like, somebody's going to catch me. And so I now I'm in panic mode. Because I'm like, I have a good lead, but this is Pickwick, Wheeler, and Wilson. I was like, there's no way this is going to – 96 isn't going to take this. I was like, I got to keep going. And my bite died. It just straight turned off. Like, I don't know what happened. I think that pressure – like, it was supposed to storm all day, but then it never didn't. So that prefrontal was kind of like hanging over top all day, but it never actually stormed. And then later in the day, around 11 o'clock, that sun broke through a couple times. And that's when my bite died, is like around 10 o'clock, because that's when I caught that last fish. And I was like, all right, just got to keep fishing, keep grinding, keep fishing. And then I see Drew, or I see Nathan pop up. And then I see Drew pop up. And then I see somebody pops up under Drew, because now I'm checking every like 15 minutes. I'm like, oh, God, are they catching me? What do I got? Put myself in panic sweats and whatever. So I see Drew catching up. I see these guys coming up behind me. And then I see Nathan come up right behind me with like 95 or something like that. And then Drew jumps up right behind him with 94. And I was like, if I have the freaking best fishing day of my life and Drew beats me, I'm going to like be.
I quit the podcast.
I was like, I'm going to be happy, but I'm also going to be the most salty Sal you've ever seen somebody get second place in the KBF tournament. But because
and then have to hear about it back at the room.
Exactly. I joke. That would all been. I would have swallowed it. It would have been internal because I wouldn't have been happier for Drew to be able to take that. But I'm out there to fish too, so I was like, I got to keep going. Got to keep going. And then
you want your friends to do great, just like a little bit less.
But just a little less. Yeah, just a little less. And so I cycled. I went back to the start, and at that point, I was like hoping these spots reload a little bit. And I came up to like the juiciest one. Like it probably produced 5 of the fish I caught that day, and 3 of the biggest.
Wow.
And I caught within 10 minutes. I caught an 18 back to back to call both the 16 and the 17 that were on my board. So that's what bumped me up to 98.75 at the end of the day. So that put me up to that 98.75. And then I think Drew jumped up to like 96 or something like that, like just like really right behind me, like real close or whatever it was. And then I had another big fish on. And I lost this one. It's the first one I didn't land all day. It 100% 20 plus class. I would have had over 100 inches, guaranteed.
It wouldn't be Wheeler if it didn't send you back home with a heartbreak.
Yeah, I'm like, how did I have like the best fishing day of my life and like winning this big national tournament, and I'm still salty about something? Like, I'm still like trying to like work my way through it and not feel bad about it. I'm like, dude, you had a great day. Like, what do you? But that one fish is just it's replaying in my brain. But it's I'll get into a little bit more detail. I'll break it down in my own podcast. But basically, I hooked it. It ran into some brush. I got blown into the other side of brush, and I tried to pull it through, and it came off the spinner bait. The hook wasn't strong enough to rip it through that stuff. So It was a little bit of, and I knew that's when in my head I was like, that would have
Here
sealed
comes
it.
Drew.
That would have sealed it, and here comes Drew. Like, Drew's right on, and I looked down and I was like, oh my, 98.75. Like, he just tied me exactly. I was like, all he has to do is get another quarter inch. A freaking quarter inch, and he's going to take me. I was like, either way, like, you know, we're going to take 1-2 on this, and it's going to be awesome. Like, 2 crescents. Everybody out there with their motors. We're probably the only 2 crescents in the whole tournament. We're going to take 1-2 on Saturday. And it's like, you know, you're one of your best buds. And it just it couldn't have wrote a better story. Couldn't have scripted any better in my mind, you know.
Yeah.
So ultimately, it was an awesome day. It's really awesome to have this story and, like, you know, something that I don't think Drew and I are ever going to forget. And it just it was craziness. And like that losing that big fish, I was like, oh, that would have sealed it. And then watching Drew come up and tie, and then I should have prepped a picture for you guys. I don't know if somebody can find my 118. It literally is touching the 18 by like that much. Like literally 1 little centimeter of the tail fin is hitting that line. And I pulled that up later. I was like, Drew, this is how much I beat you by. Because I zoomed in on it. So
Not to rub it in, but
well,
Yeah.
Fishing Chaos has the what? The
zoom feature on it. You can click
well,
on
no,
it.
like you can fight somebody else's picture.
Yeah, all the judge or whatever.
Yeah, he's probably like judge all
challenge
all
challenge. I zoomed in on it before I turned it in like 6 times. I was like, I can argue this, so I turned it in, and you know, it touches it. 100% it is, but it's like just enough to count. So because I almost turned it as 18.75 just to make sure I got the fish in. You know what I mean? But I was like, I'm going for it. I need that quarter inch, and that was before he tied me. So if I didn't have that on there, he would have won. So you know, you got to get the most out of your fish and make sure you do it right. So.
well, awesome day on Wheeler, dude.
It was
killer.
crazy.
Well, Eric,
yeah, I want to know. You were fishing a point then, right? With the gator grass.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, all right, I want to know how a Midwesterner goes and attacks that mean gator grass down here in Alabama.
I need all the details on just how you have success on Wilson Lake. So
a jig.
Well,
was it a swim jig or what? What were you doing?
Well, I got to be honest. I had no idea that it was even gator grass. I didn't know what kind of grass it was, but it was the only grass that I found. So that's more my deal anyways. I like to fish grass. But I caught all my fish in just a chatterbait. I was pulling it through. I'm not going to lie and say that it was much fun at times because, you know, it did get hung up. Like a swim jig probably would have been better that way. A spinnerbait came through it better too. The problem was I never got any bites on a spinnerbait. So they were eating the chatterbait a little bit better. And that was really out of all the fish that I submitted, I didn't submit anything that wasn't on a chatterbait. And I was just kind of bringing it through, trying to keep it kind of on the top side of it a little bit. There was some wood and stuff that was mixed in with it and just trying to keep it up a little bit. And then, like I said, I had no idea what it was, but I knew it looked fishy. And, you know, sometimes that's just the biggest deal is you're just using the eyeball test. I caught all my fish off of rocks. So in my head, I was already thinking that rocks might be the deal. But you know how it goes when you're pre-fishing. If you have time to pre-fish, it's like you got to hit some rocks, you got to hit some docks, you got to hit some grass, you got to hit some wood, and just kind of see what's going to be the deal for that day. And that was it. That was the only grass that I found. I never found anything else that looked anything like it anywhere close to where I was at. So that was the hard part. Generally for me, I just like to cover water and just see how much, you know, I'll just stick in my depth range that I like, usually somewhere 6 foot or less, and just cover as much as I can. But I was only getting bit where I was getting bit. And I wasn't getting bit where I wasn't getting bit. So that's kind of where it just narrowed down and made it an easy decision, I guess, on Sunday. But even as I say that, I called my brother on Saturday after the tournament. We were talking about, you know, what I was going to do the next day. And I told him, I don't know, like 16th is a good finish, but I don't know that I can finish better than 16th if I fish the same spot. I don't know that it's going to be as good or what. So I was looking at maps pretty hard. I was thinking about maybe going to Pickwick or maybe going to Wheeler and just scrapping what I had all together. And then when I woke up in the morning, I said, well, I'm just going to go back to that grass, I guess, and see what I can do. And I'm happy that I did go back, but it's funny how it goes that, I mean, I was just that far from not fishing what I fished, and I'm awfully happy I did.
Wow.
Goes back to the famous, don't leave them to find them.
Yeah, that's true. And the weird part about my day, the weirdest part about my day is like I said, there was another kayak that I was sharing the water with a little bit, and there were a lot of boats that kind of just pulled up and flipped through it real quick and moved on. And most of those guys were throwing, like I said, they were throwing a spinnerbait, and I was throwing a chatterbait. So apparently that was some type of difference. But it seemed like all my big fish came after somebody had just passed through. So like they just passed through and I got in right behind them, and I would catch one, maybe a minute, 2 minutes behind them. That's when I was catching my big fish.
Huh.
I don't
Bat
know
and cleanup.
if there's anything to that. Like, was there a reason why that happened, or was it just blind luck? I have no idea.
I have a buddy that, it's funny you mentioned that. I have a buddy that he fishes Logan Martin all the time down on the Coosa chain, and that's something he believes in. Like I was with him when he was pre-fishing a boat tournament, and that's like his favorite thing to do is he'll see an area being picked apart by boaters, and he'll go in as they leave, and like almost every time he'll at least catch a fish. I don't know what the science is behind it, but maybe it is a thing.
Yeah, I don't know. And some people are afraid of that. Some people don't want to go in and fish behind somebody. I mean, obviously we'd all probably rather prefer to have something by ourselves, but just got to have confidence that if they're there and they're going to bite, then they're there and they're going to bite. So I kept seeing these boats pull up, and I'm kind of thinking to myself, like, I kind of wish that these boats wouldn't pull up here. Like, part of me, like at this point, I'm doing pretty well. And my brother sent me a text and said, be careful. You're going to mess around and win this thing if you keep going, which never in my mind the entire tournament until about 3:30 did I actually believe I was going to win. I was just waiting for somebody to submit a photo. They were sandbagging and submit like last second. You're sitting there, you're looking at Russ Snyder right behind you. You're looking at Christy Fisher starting to work her way up, and there was just a bunch of hammers in the top 10. So I was getting a little bit nervous there, but
that's something to say for both of you too, is it was a stacked field. Yeah. Chad made a post about it, and I mean, he wasn't lying. There were more known names in this tournament weekend than I've seen in a long time, and they put them in their place and come out on top, and say that that's your spot now. It's your body of water. I'm champion.
Yeah, I think it. Just everything fell into place, and I think I found the spot, and I think Eric did too, for our respective days. And it's something that those guys, Drew, Russ, Jody, all the Christine, like all those people, all the hammers, all the household names in kayak fishing, like they have that consistency that I personally just haven't found yet, and working on it. But they have that consistency where they can just show up anywhere and they put in the time. I'm not saying that they don't do that; they do their homework, but they show up at any part of the country and they're able to catch fish, and they're able to consistently put high numbers up. And it's very. I still haven't wrapped my head around it, and it's something that's crazy to finish on top when all those people with all that talent. But I think. Honestly, the weather, the spot that I found and the weather helped me overcome all of that, and I just had the spot. I think that's what happened for me.
I think a lot of Eric, like you said, Eric, where you were at, you didn't see any other areas with grass the same way. That, like you telling me you were fishing grass on Wilson is just odd to me because, like, I don't know, as of recent, as I've started to see like more and more grass come back on Wheeler, I know Wilson was kind of barren too, so that. I mean, finding that they always preach, find the one thing different, right. And that could have been the whole key to it right there. And you just, stayed there and was grinding it out, which is awesome.
And there was a little spawning pocket there too, and I would fish the grass, and I would sneak back into that pocket just for long enough to kind of let the grass replenish, just give it a rest, and and it was nice bouncing back and forth both days. I from there I got to tell you the story. It was the best part of my day, I would say. I was in second place, and I was kind of coming around the corner there, and there was a guy out up on his up on the bank, and he was picking up all this like plastic and just debris and stuff that had floated up in this thing. And I started talking to him about it, and I just said how I appreciated that he was doing it. You know, I know he's not doing it for the river, he's doing it more for his yard, but just, hey man, I appreciate you doing this. And we got talking back and forth, and I told him I was from Michigan and we were fishing this tournament. I was in second place, and I really needed this. You know, I really needed one more if I was going to have a chance to win it. And just as soon as I said that, I caught my last fish, my last call. So I catch it. He was standing there. I'm pretty excited. He was all excited. He's hooting and hollering. You know, we're both real excited. It's rare that you get to share excitement with somebody else when you're tournament fishing, because a lot of times you're just kind of out there by yourself. But it was pretty cool that homeowner just happened to be there at the right time, and he was excited for me, and I'm going crazy. He's going crazy. It was a pretty cool part of my day. So I'm happy that I got to enjoy that with him. And then I spent the next 2 hours crossing my fingers I could catch one more, because I really didn't think 96.75 was going to be enough, especially with, like you said, especially with the stacked deck behind you. You just never really feel safe till it's over.
Yeah. The only thing you didn't get from Alabama was a little more hospitality. I'm surprised they didn't invite you in for lunch at that point.
Well, I told him if I keep catching them, I'm going to be paying rent. I'm going to be living in your basement. So I'm going to be going and knocking over on his door here soon, because I had so much fun. The only thing that I'm disappointed in right now is that is the only lake that I've fished out of the three. I'm staying down for another week. So this morning, I went out on Gunnersville for a little bit, but nice. I want to get back. He's talking about Wheeler. It makes me want to go over there and maybe try that out, but I want to try the three, and I'm just down here for a week to have a little bit of fun, see if I can't catch some fish. So
hit me up after the show, and I'll send you some, like, I don't know if you want to try some more backwater style stuff or get out on the Decatur Flats, but I'll send you some pins and stuff so you can go check Wheeler out.
Sounds good. I appreciate it.
I don't mind sharing it, because most people hate Wheeler and don't ever give it a second chance. So, but
Wheeler's pretty okay.
It catches a check every now and then. So I got one last question for y'all before we start to wrap it up. Both y'all being from, nowhere around here, what brought you down here for this tournament? Just new area you've never been to, or are you hoping to chase AOI? But we'll start with Eric. What was your reason for this event down here?
I mean, the most honest answer is it fit into my schedule. Like
spring break.
Yeah, it was just my spring break, so I was able to do it. That's the number one reason. I mean, if I could fish all these, I would. I mean, I'd fish a tournament every day of the year if I could. And it's just not realistic for me to be able to do too much traveling during this time of year. So that was it more than anything else. But I will say, when I saw the lakes, I was pretty excited to do it. I like this area. I like coming down south to fish. I've fished some of these down here just kind of on my own time, messing around and having fun trying to catch a big one. But it was a lot scheduled, but I was really happy with the lakes when I saw that I was going to be able to. I was really excited for it.
Awesome. Oh, we're glad. I'm glad you came down here and got a little piece of our heaven. Alabama, we got some lakes that are awesome other than Gunnersville and Pickwick. And you two dudes showed out, so we appreciate it. What about you, Ken? What made you come down? Drew
and Jake. Really, yeah. My buddy Jake Korn and Drew, they had this trip planned already. Wheeler, Pickwick, and Wilson wasn't on my schedule. Between life and work and vacation and time and stuff like that, I kind of have to pick and choose what I can travel to and what I can't. And they're like, hey, we got the Airbnb. If you can show up, you can. So pre-story to that, Ohio had their travel regulations that they were posting week by week, whether you had to quarantine or not when you came back, based on, percentages with COVID and stuff like that, which is fine, So my work had their regulation based on that. So I was telling the guys every week, I'd be like, if I can come down, because if Alabama was on that list, I couldn't afford to quarantine for a week or two after I got back. So I was like, if I can go, I'll go. If not, and they made the post like every Wednesday in Ohio. So I wouldn't have known if I could have gone until the Wednesday before. However, the week before last Wednesday, so a week before the week of, Ohio decided that they weren't posting the list anymore. So then my work lifted the regulations, and I was like, does that mean I'm free to go? And they're like, yes. And I was like, all right, text. I'll be there. I won't leave till Thursday night though. So I'm going to show up and, drive around and, find some stuff on Friday and then just wing it the rest of the weekend. But yeah, it worked out perfect. I mean, looking at the map, there's so many creeks, there's so many backwaters, there's so much fun looking stuff that's river based and wild waters and stuff that we love to do. It was hard to say no, and the only thing was holding me back was my travel schedule, my travel restrictions. And as soon as that lifted, I was just all in. I was like, I'm not gonna put, and this is gonna sound awful, it's gonna make me sound whatever, but yes, yes, Drew. I wasn't putting too much. I wasn't making myself a head case of it. I did homework, but I didn't do that much homework. And I will be the first person. I didn't put my heart and soul into like studying for this tournament because I didn't know if I was coming or not. But as soon as I knew I was, I turned the gears on a little bit. But it was just amazing. It was such a fun weekend hanging out with those guys and pulling off a win. And it just can't describe it any better than that. It's just a great weekend. Best, hopefully I can start repeating it and start, elevating myself a little bit, but it's a good start for sure.
Well, kudos to you guys for just winging it because, y'all both had very limited time and, Eric, you kind of winged it by going back to your spot Sunday and just believing in it. And Ken, you just straight winged it. So good job.
Thanks.
All right. Well, anybody we have on show, before we let you go, we want to give you a chance to shout out anybody that makes fishing easier. Eric, we'll start with you.
Well, I don't have any sponsors or anything like that to thank. And for me, it's just simple. I appreciate my family, particularly my brother, Gary. Him and I fished all the time together, and he's kind of the person that I'll call and just bounce stuff off of, good or bad, and my dad's the same way. I'm very fortunate to live in Michigan. We have, it's got to be the best kayak community that there is. I mean, we're all pretty tight knit. We cheer each other on, and they've been great letting me know, just showing a little bit of love for what I was able to do, and it means a lot that other people care enough to reach out. And it's not just them, Greg Nosar, Mark Coates, Todd Patrick, some of those guys, and the KBBT crew. Yeah. They all called me, and you would have thought that they won the tournament. They were so excited, and it's cool. You appreciate that type of thing. That's what's great about kayak fishing in general is you don't have very many bad apples. Almost everybody that does this, they're good people. They're happy for you if they win. They don't take it too serious. We all want to win. We all want to compete, but nobody's going to get too bent out of shape over the silly stuff, and it's got to be that way. It's got to be fun first. And I'm having a ball. It was great. I looked down at not look down, but you look down the list of the people, that were on this list, and to take first, it still just blows my mind a little bit that I was able to do it. And thanks to Chad and Amanda and Hank and everybody at KBF, writing the articles and taking the pictures and setting this up. I mean, Ken and I both make these big long drives to come down here to fish these tournaments, and it's a credit to them and what they're able to provide for us to be that good to make it worth the drive to come down. So I'm thankful to them. I'm thankful for my family, friends, everybody reached out, and I appreciate the two of you guys had me on here. It's it's a pretty big deal, and I appreciate you guys having me on.
Hey, we like to think it's a big deal, so we appreciate you accepting the invite and coming on.
Yeah. All right, Ken, how about you?
All right. Well, first I have to start off with thanking my wife, Ashley, for tolerating this monster she's created. Like I said earlier, with getting me my first kayak and never looking back and doing
It's
this.
nice you get to
Well,
play.
you know she regrets it.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. But, love her to death. Thanks for letting me run, all over the country with Drew and stay up late and talk on the computer with Drew and doing that sort of stuff. So kudos to her. Thanks for everything. With that, moving on, call them a sponsor, but it's really mostly just a family. Crescent Kayaks, Drew and James and Justin and Scott and anybody else, all those guys, they, welcome me with open arms, and it's just a family, and they make great paddling kayaks. Definitely go check them out if you're into something to paddle, and they can, everybody's on their edge about Drew's kayak, and we'll get to that at some point. And, you keep bugging him, don't bug me. I don't know anything. Well, I might, but you're not going to get anything out of me. So
Every time I talk to him, I try.
So yeah, go bug him. He's the one that has to deal with that about, that business. But thanks to them, they're a great company. Check them out. Like I said, that they've been overly nice to me and really taking care of me and made it possible to go 1-2 on Saturday. So that was awesome.
That's excellent.
Thanks to Drew and Jake again for making a fun weekend. Thanks to KBF, Chad, those guys throwing the tournaments, running them, spectacular stuff, doing a lot of fun stuff, doing a lot of giveaways, and making a fun trail to fish and, stuff like that. Thanks to everybody on, Facebook. Like Eric said, people messaging me, sending me text messages, congratulations. I have people back from high school that I haven't talked to since high school being like, hey, that's pretty cool. Like, seeing the social media and stuff. So, just an overall overwhelming experience, and something that's just a little, haven't quite processed it all yet. But and that's pretty much it. I don't have any other sponsors. Just thanking all those individuals. And if you want to hear some more, I definitely left some chunks out.
Please do.
Drew will also, we can hear about Drew's side of the story and the experience. Check out Hooked on Wild
And
Water
hopefully
podcast.
some of his saltiness.
Yeah.
I just want him to be
I just
salty.
need to rub it in a little bit. I'm
Just
going
a
to just be
little.
like, but I got you. But I got you on that one. So, yeah, no, I'm sure we're going to get into it, and we're going to be poking fun at each other and, driving home that the whole point, like the craziest point that Drew and I were talking about, just to slide this in here one more time, is that we did not fish together. And we often do. We often do a float trip. We often help each other in that sort of sense of launching and pickups and shuttle rides and that sort of thing. And like, I'll break down this side of the river or go this way upriver, you go down, like that sort of thing. Whatever the plan may be. But this time we went separate ways, and we were fishing for different kinds of fish. We were fishing different styles, and we ended up tied, had to be broken up by a tiebreaker, and just took 1-2. It was crazy.
Well, there you go. Well, we appreciate y'all guys. Again, congratulations. And
Thank you guys again.
yeah, hopefully y'all have a great season, and we'll have you back on for too long. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Have a good one.
All right. Well, I'll tell you what, it is definitely tournament season, because there were a crap ton of tournaments, and there were a lot of them that, like, we're at 29 and 28 anglers. So get your numbers up, and we'll get you on the show. But yeah, a lot of tournaments going on. This season has definitely come around. Besides KBF, there was a Delaware. I'm sorry if I mispronounce your name, as always. It's my fault. I blame Mississippi Public School Systems. Delaware Paddle Sports Kayak Fishing Series on Marshy Hope Creek. 31 anglers, 5 fish limit, but good God, it must have been tough, because Jake Harshman won with 4 fish. He had 57 inches. Mike Russell in second with some number. He got second. I didn't write that down. Third was, I have 76.25, but that can't be right. Okay, so it had to have been 56.25. I don't know why I put or it could have been 46.25. Either one. One of the two, Mike. Great job. Third place was Dennis Campbell with 44 inches. Then Queen City KBF, they had their foothills clashes on a few different lakes. 115 anglers, again, Queen City, giant tournaments. Four fish limit doing their own thing. Austin Bang, first place, 69 and a quarter. Matt Hodge, Hodge, Hawj, 67 and three quarter, and Jeremy Heath with 67 and a half. And then Cincinnati Kayak Fishing, they were on Rocky Fork Lake, another giant turnout. Must have been their first one of the year. 80 anglers. Dylan Rupp with 47 and three quarter. Brock Spencer 46 and a half, and Jason Suter with 41 and a half. 10 Cat, they were on Douglas, had 30 anglers. John Dalton 57 and a half. Joby Berry with 47, and Kyle Fettel with 46 and three quarter. Georgia Kayak Fishing League on Lake Lanier, 46 anglers. David Hampton won that one with 90 and three quarter. Jacob Chandler, 84 and a half, and Dan Karimsky with 83 and a half. See that guy's name a lot. North Alabama Kayak Anglers, the one that I slept in on because of that dang old dog. We had our Coleman Lake tournament. 50 anglers, but really you had to be on George. If you were on George, you probably cash a check. First place, Randall Wallace. I'm guessing he did that with a frog. Don't know if that's true, but that man's a hell of an angler with a frog. So second place was the man with the most southern name in kayak fishing, John Bubba Jones, 57 and three quarter, and Michael Putnam in third place, also with 57 and three quarter.
I would just like to thank my fellow NACAs for taking the Coleman Lake win over the Coleman guys. It felt great. I finished ahead of a couple of those guys that are hammers, and I did terrible. It just made me feel good, so I'm going to take that as my small win from this weekend. But you missed the number. Randall had 62 inches, so that's insane.
Oh, 62.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
He told me he didn't have a fish at 12:30, and he went from Smith Lake to where he went. So talk about game plan change. But
Smith Lake's that's where I was going to fish.
They were launching from the gravel parking lot. The water was up so high. So
they canceled. Next week was supposed to be the Bassmaster Central Open on Smith, and they canceled it because the water is so high. Because Smith, they can't let the water out fast enough because it'll flood the people below it. So it just full.
I'm sure the Zipsy was up like 45 feet, man. It was up in the treetops.
It takes forever to come down, so Smith just stays up, and that's why they can't.
It's always blown my mind how big Smith is and how small that dam is.
Yeah, you can't.
I mean, it's a huge dam, but it's like a single little generator, like little bitty.
You can't even
anyway, getting off on a tangent. But go ahead. Sorry.
Next, Peach State Kayak Anglers, they were on Lake Eufaula, not even in their own state. What borders it, so I guess it was 55. Just messing with you, Georgia. 55 anglers. Daniel Paris with 88 and three quarter. Michael Wine in second with 87 inches, and Nick Dyer in third with 85 and a quarter. Then Natural State Kayak Anglers. They had their Ben Spangler Memorial. That's supposed to have been a great guy. We talked about him last year. 53 anglers. John Wofford in first with 94 and a half. Mr. KBN. There you go. A lot of K's out there. KBN Jeff Mallett, 92 and a half, and Eric Morrison third with 90 and a quarter. Then you had Moyak on Bull Shoals with 103, another big tournament. Jason Yinsky with 93 inches. Lucano Arnold with 89 and three quarter, and Larry Lee with 87 and three quarter. And last but not least, club who we just featured a couple weeks ago, Urban Anglers of LA. They were on Pudding Stone Lake. 38 anglers, 5 fish limit, but this one is also a super tough one. First place was Brett Wilson with 42 and a quarter. Second place, Gilbert Garcia with 29 inches. And third place, Andy Garcia with 28 and a half for 5 fish limit. So
struggle win.
No fish pudding stone because the name's weird and the fishing sucks. All right, that's all we got. We appreciate y'all as always. Thanks for watching, and thanks to those two guys for being on. I'm excited about fishing the later Pickwick tournaments this year. And this one, I was going to fish at Coleman, fish the NACA stuff because I wanted to fish their whole trail this year. And
well, the good thing is you can still make a run for AOI because we do the drop your worst tournament thing. I'm praying that this is my bad one for the year because our next one's my favorite one. And then we are doing the river stop this year, which is my jam, skinny moving water. So we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. All right, y'all. be safe and wear your PFDs, and we'll see you all again next week. Thank you.
Good night, everybody.
Thanks for tuning in to another killer episode on Paddle and Fin. Don't forget to go check out our website at paddle_and_fin.com. Don't forget to check out the YouTube channel at Paddle and Fin. If you got a question, comment, want to hear from a future guest on a future episode, feel free to email us at paddle_and_fin@gmail.com. Don't forget to follow us on social media at Paddle and Fin on Facebook and Instagram. Shout out to our show supporters, Angler. The Angler button and app just makes for a better time on the water and creates a virtual logbook for every fishing outing out on the water. Shout out to Rocktown Adventures, located in northern Illinois, for all your kayaking, camping, and hiking needs. Shout out to Jigmasters Jigs. When in doubt, get the jig out. Go to jigmasters.com.